So what's up? How we doing today? We're going to take a look at Phil's playing on the other one. This is my first time making a bass video for YouTube. I used to teach tons of bass students back when I used to teach private lessons, but first time for this. Asking a poll today if you guys were interested in this, and it seemed like it was a 50-50, but that's, 50% is pretty good for me. So we're going to dive into it. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the little intro thing he plays, and then that main groove up until the chorus part. So I'm going to play along with the backing track, and I want you to listen and watch and see if you can kind of just figure out, what things you think are going on. Then we'll break that down, then we'll do the same thing for the chorus. So let's give it a listen, check it out. So first off, this is a very loose song, but it's got a deep groove. That's the most important thing I think in this tune is to get that sound. It's in this 12/8 signature, so it's going 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Dun, dun, dun. And it's got that underneath the whole thing, and that's the most important thing is getting that groove, and then knowing kind of what notes to play around with. So it's in E Dorian. And what that is just basically the same thing as the D major scale, but focusing on an E. But before we dive more into that, we're going to just focus on just E minor pentatonic. And that'd be like just going from here, E, G, A, B, D, E. And that's a good spot to start off with. And if you want to extend that, there like that, right? And that's actually to just start off with that first little lick, because people probably want to know, what's that thing that Phil starts off the tune. It's a little different every time, just like everything he's going to be doing on this. It's not like a set in stone thing, and we're not going to look at any verbatim things, but just a general approach. This would be probably the most closest to a verbatim would be he's just starting off with an open E, right? And he's just going like this, climbing right up, going, and then into that groove. So it's just going. So 2 E's, G, open E. So it's going up that scale with E's in between. And then boom, you can go right into that on 1, back to that E up here, up an octave, and into the groove. But again, it does different little variations every time. So that's just kind of like the gist of kind of what he if you can accompany it all into, if I could say that, all into one way, I'd say that'd be kind of like the main way. So that main groove now, that's just revolving around E, and sometimes it'll hit D, and sometimes the other players will be hitting that too. It's very loose. A lot of times I think people might write it out as like, oh, it's E going along, and at the end hits that D and does it every time, and it doesn't do that every time. Actually, in some versions, he doesn't start doing that for a while, and even the rest of the band. It's just kind of more floating around that E Dorian and really focusing in an E minor pentatonic again groove. And sometimes, if you did that every time, like if you just did that every time for 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long you're playing the song, it would get pretty monotonous. So they're not doing that every time. So keep that in mind. It's one of those things that just kind of floats in and out, and that you got to listen to other players if you're playing this with other players in a band. So that groove is again that 12/8 thing, and it's a lot of muted things. So you're hitting the string, you're getting your hands on here ever so lightly, And you can hit different strings, it doesn't matter which one so much, but starting off on that E right here, and that's the groove. I mean, if you could just do that for as long as you can until you get tired, that's the way to get that feel going. And if you want an even better explanation of this groove, I'll put a link in the description down below to my Jerry video on this, where I put in a little bit of the drummer I have play on my tracks, him talking about what he's doing on the groove and things like that. He can explain it way better than me. Even though English is not his main language, he's Italian, he can still explain it better than me. So check that out, I'll put that in the link down below. But we're going along there, just get that groove going. And then practice that part for a long time, and then the third step would be to start loosening it up. So start on that part where you would hit that D at the end there, doing something different each time. You know, just playing around with the pentatonic scale. Again, you could do the notes from the Dorian scale. We'll look at that a little more in a second, but just going, you know. Anything like that. So I try to just do something different each time. But the main thing is, again, I can't stress it enough, I'm trying to repeat myself about repeating that groove. That is the main, you know, focal point of the song. And of course, Phil just goes all over the place. So you want to get really thorough with that, you know, that pentatonic scale. And then really beyond that, it's again that D major scale, but focusing on E. Another way to think of it is the E minor scale, but instead of a flat 6, there's a raised 6. That's the 7th actually in the D major scale. Here it is, C sharp, and then there's that D. There it is down there. So really get, you know, fluid with that kind of stuff. And but you don't want to just be playing that around without having that feel, that groove. You know, in the backing track I maybe went a little harder in the that kind of feel than Phil does. Typically, he kind of even gets looser and gets beyond that. But you got to have that underneath there before you start just kind of floating around, so that you sound like you're tied to the song and things like that. So with that being said, let's check out the chorus part and see what's going on there, and then we'll break that down. It's a real quick part, and let's check it out. So this, everyone in the band, the you know, guitar players and the whoever's playing keys on this is just playing major chords, just going right down like this: E, D, C, A, G, and then it goes the same thing, and then it goes up to D, and it does that whole thing twice, right? And it's got the groove going through, and then now the one thing that's a little different is that first G is just a measure of 6/8, so it's half the length, so it's like a half measure. So you're going. And the second time with that extra D is kind of creates a full measure of 12/8 is kind of the way I hear it. So just know that that first G just goes real quick, because like you can think of it like missing that D part and then the D. So the second time, and that's it. It's just right on those hits is the only thing you got to know there. And back to that. So again, with you know, the main part of kind of knowing that main groove and just knowing how to jam this out is to just get that groove down and really get to know the pentatonic scale. And to give it a practice at, if this is really new to you, is practice the scale, you know, maybe a couple of octaves, like up to here, and then practice the pentatonic, that is the pentatonic scale, the Dorian scale around that, you know, and and get used to switching back and forth between the two. You're just adding in a couple extra notes. That's all it is. So it may seem really intimidating, but you're just adding 2 more notes. Pentatonic scales, you got 5 notes, hence the name pentatonic. And the Dorian scale, fancy name there, has 7 notes. So just 2 more, added in there and stuff. So yeah, really make sure you're thorough with that stuff, and then you're thorough with the groove, and then the chorus part, just hitting those hits, going down the scale. Although it has a C in that case, it's different. So that's one's outside of the Dorian scale, that one spot there. And be in good shape, So if that's helpful and you want to know more bass stuff, let me know in the comments down below. What kind of stuff do you want to know about? More breakdowns of songs, of Phil stuff, and any other bass players, any techniques or theory stuff you want to know about. Please let me know. I'd love to know, make some more bass videos now and then. This is a guitar channel, so I'm not going to go full on bass, but I'd like to once in a while throw in some bass stuff because I think it's not only useful to bass players, but I think guitar players should be checking out this stuff as well. I myself, as a primarily guitarist, sort of half and half bassist as well, I like to actually learn about all kinds of other stuff, and I learn a lot of keyboard stuff and a lot of stuff about singing on the guitar and things like that as well. So let me know down below what kind of stuff you want to check out, and I will hopefully be making some more bass videos, and I'll see you in one of them in the future.